Good day and welcome to this special edition of Spotlight called GM's Corner, a series of regular short conversations with LMOA's General Manager Steve Hurwitz about what's on his agenda and what's on his mind. Mr. General Manager, the page has turned on a new month, and yet we have several water issues apropos of a nice sultry September so far. Number of water issues to get to, the first being this water line, this line break from a pump station near Pine Knoll, not far from the marina, that threatens some contamination in Taylor Cove. How did that work out?
Well, I'm glad to be able to discuss that, Ron. It was a potentially serious incident, and a little bit of the background. There was a little leak from a pump station in that same vicinity earlier in the day. And Aqua responded and worked the issue. Maintenance was there and I was there. We spent a couple hours and that was all sealed up. But then in the middle of the night, apparently was a break in the sewer line that Aqua responded to and maintenance also. And they repaired it. And they also determined that there was a leak into the lake of a substance. They were able to observe it, and the report I got was that it was no real problem. But Aqua, following the protocol, made all the notifications. There is a requirement to notify the state, which they do on their behalf. They're the operator of the system. And then they also took samples and sent them off. I mistakenly thought we were going to get the sample results the next morning, so we could announce that there had been a break, that it was no issue, and here's the readings. Well, I was wrong. It takes longer to get the readings back, in fact, a total of 18 hours. So we made an announcement that could have been made earlier about the break, but we didn't, and I'm the one who makes those calls. So in retrospect, an earlier call I think a lot of people would have found helpful. We did get the test results back, and indeed the readings were as low as we ever have anywhere in the lake at any time. That was water tested immediately after the break in the line. So those are very reliable results, and we're very glad that was the case. And I completely understand any concern about it, and it was a good lesson learned about the sequence of reporting those things. Usually we are very prompt in the reports. Not quite as prompt as we might have been in this case.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were expecting quicker results on the test results, so understandable, one reckons. On a somewhat related vein, apparently a resident noticed some of this blue-green algae over at Tufton Pond. Now, this is really very nasty stuff. And how did we handle that?
Well, it is very serious. It has huge health impacts. And it's turned out to have impacts on pets, and that's been advertised nationally. So with the sequence that we had of the blue-green algae first having been discovered in the lake, and then we brought in Solitude, our contracted partner for managing the lake's health of all our bodies of water. They did treatment, and it appeared to eradicate the blue-green algae. But in the ensuing days after that, we decided to go ahead with regular treatments of the blue-green algae. About the same time, a very alert resident spotted some more of the algae, a small amount, but that's nothing to ignore, to put it mildly. So we're very pleased that the resident reported that. At that point, we reposted the special warnings about blue-green algae. And people should be very careful about allowing their pets any access to the water. Pets are not supposed to be in our bodies of water anyway, but with due consideration to the health hazards involved, people would be advised to keep their pets away from Tufton altogether, because they can get exposed in a number of ways separate from actually going in the water. But the series of regular treatments, inspections and treatments, is starting today, what we had decided last week to go ahead with. But again, we're grateful for the residents' report. It certainly was a clarion call.
Yeah, surely. Does this stuff just show up? Is it basically the heat of summer? And certainly we've had plenty of that.
No doubt the heat of the summer has an effect on it, and Tufton being shallow, the water is subject, can be much warmer than the lake, which is,
Yeah.
you know,
Right, 'cause of the depth.
multiples,
Right.
multiples of multiples bigger than Tufton. So that is undoubtedly a factor, and that's where our concentration is. Naturally, we want to take all measures to keep it from spreading from Tufton, because the waters of Tufton do go into the main lake.
Yeah, to underscore the warnings about pets, I heard a tragic report this past week on National Public Radio about some dogs that had been close to the shore, not even in the water, as you mentioned, and just even from lapping some leaves that had taken on some water from the contaminated by the algae, and they expired. They were just unable to. Tragic report. So people are well advised to stay clear.
Yes, indeed.
As we say. Happier note on the water. I guess Saturday evening was the final sunset boat parade around the lake. Successful.
Very successful. A good number of boats were out. They made a tour of the lake and celebrated in a uniquely Lake Monticello way. Mm-hmm. And those are always great events. A lot of people get to participate in all kinds of ways that are very helpful, particularly the water cannons.
Yes, I understand.
And the little bit of water warfare that erupts.
You
always
managed
entertaining.
to avoid the water cannons, did you?
I am for the time being.
Okay.
But there's you've got to take care to make sure you have an adequate arsenal. I'm not threatening anything. I'm just saying I'm thinking about coming with whatever's needed in the future.
Yeah. Well, there's cannons and colors. Saturday apparently also was the color run starting at Bunker Ball Field. Again, part of the 50th celebration. People wear clothes not to worry about getting vegetable dye tossed, but apparently that went off really well.
It did, and that's to celebrate the 50th, which is a special occasion. That was a great event, and glad to see so many people participated and had a great time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's made it a good weekend, morning and evening in that score. You say you were apparently starting an employee recognition program now. What's this all about?
Well, yes, indeed. In fact, there was a recommendation from a resident. And I don't want to say too much about this resident who wants to remain anonymous, but I can reveal this. This is a resident who in the past has contributed directly, that is with funds, to support benefits and awards to residents, to employees who've done especially laudatory work. Worth recognizing. So this is the first time most people are hearing about this. But that particular resident who has talked with his wallet, as well as just letting us know about what would be a good idea, has also suggested a recognition program, kind of for people that employees that make special contributions or have great ideas in particular. So without a whole bunch of elaborate things like committees and submissions and all that kind of stuff that you sometimes get into, we do have a program, although it's almost a non-program. The main point is we have so many residents who do interact with employees in so many ways, and they've been very kind in the past. And I'd like to encourage them to continue to let me know when they see something that an employee is doing, or they interact with an employee and they see something that's worth noting. By the same token, we're encouraging employees to forward their recommendations and ideas. So it's kind of a combination of recommendations, suggestion program, if you will, and recognition for employees who do good work. And we have things we can do for the employees that would be tangible. And I think a lot of people who live here would like that. A lot of people know how hard the staff works, how important the staff is to every facet of life in the community. And so I'm just asking people to go that extra step of letting me know. Email's a great way to do it. And by the same token, this is for all employees that are hearing us right now. Of course, they'll hear more formally. I'd like them to continue with their great ideas. We've had some things done by employees that are really notable, and it's only appropriate to go ahead and recognize that. And including in a tangible way, so we can encourage that kind of thing in the future, because it's very beneficial.
Do we have formal, scattered around suggestion boxes for employees? I mean, sometimes there could be recommendations such as this, but there could be suggestions, because after all, as companies find, the people on the line are the ones who say, you know, we could save a few bucks if we did A or we did B, but sometimes it may be literal, not necessarily so flattering to someone if they're suggesting a change. You know, I'm sure they don't want it to be taken in a nasty way, but that they can even do anonymously if they want.
Well, Ron, that's a great suggestion, but I want to point out you're not eligible for the recognition or the tangible recognition. But no, we don't have suggestion boxes. But I think you're right. You know, any suggestion to do something better infers some element of potential criticism. We don't look at it that way. We look at it all as constructive. But that is a factor, so that's a good idea.
Yeah,
We'll definitely work on that. Because it's one thing to say, send your ideas. It's another way. I mean, it's another thing to say, jot it down and drop it in this box.
Here's a way, and then, you know, it's just fine. They can sign if they want, or not sign if
Yes,
they
indeed.
if they want. But I've seen it work very effectively and result in great procedural changes and dollar changes for organizations. So.
It's true, and as much as I might be joking about your ineligibility, the truth is
Totally.
that residents who have a great store of business experience are sharp-eyed about looking at things and being able to analyze them. The same thing is true for residents, and I would suggest anybody that has an idea to, if it's related to a committee, to send it to a committee, go to a committee and talk to them, or send it directly to me. Because that's a huge store of, again, experience, background, and viewpoint. And I think the day we nail down every last detail of what goes on here every day, and it's all perfect, I'll be ready to retire at that point.
Yeah, well, no, and people see things, and I know in the past have sent to safety and security for their consideration, for example, and some changes have come out of that. Well, anyway, that's good going forward. Looking not too far forward here, we have Hurricane Dorian, who's created all kinds of havoc, and sort of going to be making its way up the eastern seaboard. Nobody's quite sure exactly its path at this point or when. You're advocating hurricane preparedness, perhaps not only for Dorian, but obviously a decent thing to do all the way around.
Yes, indeed. Everybody should have an emergency plan, a kit, and so forth. The latest news about Dorian is pretty favorable for our location, but you never know. And then there's always the future. The hurricane season is not over. So concerning Dorian, the Emergency Management Command will meet this week, make sure we're all set.
Who's that?
Emergency Management Command. It's there's actually a policy that establishes, it's called Command. It's a team that consists of our Chief of Police, our Director of Maintenance, and then our Communications Director is also a part of that, and me, and the representative of the board. And in past emergencies, at least in the past 18 months while I've been here that I know of, we've gotten together, and we if it's a severe emergency like Florence, we meet every 12 hours.
Yeah.
And we decide where we are, what to do, what information the public, the community needs. So in this case, we'll get together, just make sure we're where we need to be, and that we'll continue to monitor the weather reports. It's supposed to be, we're on the, if it follows the track that's currently being predicted, we're outside the band of severe weather, but you never know.
Yeah, it happened at least once before. Thing kind of made a turn, stalled out. It was tropical storm, but it was bad enough.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so, all right, it's good advice, as we say, and we know the Boy Scouts marching song is "Be Prepared," so it's not a bad thing for all of us to do.
And one last thing, we have a high rate of people subscribing to the county's primary warning system, which is
Yes.
called, which is really critical.
Yeah.
So people who haven't signed up for it should go on the county's webpage. There's a link to Everbridge and sign up.
Excellent.
During Florence, we had something like upwards of 2,000 homes in the community sign up
Wow.
during Florence. So there was a
Wow.
real spur to action. But if we ever got onto something as serious as requiring sheltering in place or an evacuation with a disaster that could occur, Everbridge would be the primary way because the county is the primary
Yes.
agency responsible for those calls and supporting it. We would then be in a supporting role. So life-saving information could come via the Everbridge system, and if people aren't signed up for it, they should do it right away.
Well, great advice, and thank you very much for that and for all the other information. We've been talking with LMOA's General Manager Steve Hurwitz on GM's Corner. We hope you'll join us again for more of these reports and discussions with the GM a couple of weeks from now, and also take in the full range of programming by the broadcast group here on your favorite Channel 977 or up, of course, on YouTube. Tell your friends. So until we see you again, on behalf of the LMOA Broadcast Group, I'm Ron Kraus. Thanks for watching and good day.